I woke up from my bed and found that it was now 3 a.m. All the roommates around me had gone to bed. I took out my cell phone and was about to read a novel, but then I saw a message from the class group. Today is the first night. Please go to bed before 3 a.m. The roommate aunt will be checking on the social club at 3 a.m. Please take a rest or die. I saw the message. I immediately sat up and shrunk back to the room I was sitting beside and died at 3 a.m. I didn't have the patience to call up the roommate beside me. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps was heard on the floor, and I put my phone down and started to warn myself not to talk. I hurriedly put my cell phone away and began to warn myself to keep quiet. The door opened and I couldn't help taking a peek at the man, whose eyes were blank and his face pale. He looked around and closed the door. I took a long breath and opened my cell phone to see a message from the squad leader. Are you asleep? I was about to reply when I heard footsteps coming from the hallway. I had no choice but to go to sleep. The next day, I showed the message to my teacher and told him what I had seen last night, which was a look of disbelief. When we came to the classroom, we found everyone discussing something. Did you hear what they said? Yesterday, the class monitor died. He said he was discovered because he didn't sleep at 3 p.m. No way. Should we call the police? Our school is a residential school, so we can say that we don't go out of the house, not to mention the police. It's hard to send a takeaway to the class. The teacher was no longer the same as he was in the past, but was like a dead man without any glamour. The teacher took a bow on the podium just like a robot and then quickly practiced and wrote out the same words as a printing machine, and after that he just sat down without any expression. Everyone was scared to death and covered their mouths like crazy. A minute later, there were only a few people left in the once lively class. Since I was the most transparent person in the class, I only played with my roommates, so I never took the initiative to talk. Class dismissed. The radio started and there were only 95 and 8 people in the classroom. There were a total of 3,000 people in Kyoto school, the main teacher and the principal, so there were 25 people, but now there were only 95 8 people. And then the radio remembered that today was a special day, and that the next class would be special, of course, and that everyone would be asked to enter the classroom and find a partner 5 minutes beforehand, and that those who didn't find a partner would be killed, and that this was the first time that a man about our age said that he was going to die. This is a voice about the same age as ours. How can a little transparent person like me make friends? It's already happened in the last class. What can I do? Luckily, I'm not the only little transparent person in the class. Jiao and I made friends together in order to stay alive. The teacher came into the class. Jiao and I were scared and held each other's hands tightly. The teacher said, 1, 2, 1, 3 pairs of friends in total. The teacher pointed to us and then to the other 2 pairs. The remaining 2 pairs, who were not afraid of death, shouted, aren't we friends too? Why not us? The teacher smiled a little because you didn't hold hands. The 4 of us blew up and sprayed blood on our faces. I was scared but couldn't say anything. Xiao Jiao's hand tightened and the teacher suddenly became very kind and friendly. Congratulations to the few remaining students for surviving. The teacher encouraged you to get out of the class right now. As soon as I heard that I wanted to leave, Xiao Jiao grabbed me and looked at the words on the blackboard. There was a series of small words on the lower left corner of the blackboard. No one was allowed to leave the classroom during the lesson. Neither the teacher was allowed to do so. So 1 pair of friends exploded just as soon as he opened the door. 1 pair remained who were about to open the door. 1 pair of friends blew up as soon as they opened the door, and the other pair were about to open the door, and the moment they saw it, they shrunk their hands back, and we were in the middle of a moment of confusion when the teacher suddenly laughed and walked out of the classroom without looking back. And he laughed with an open smile and, not surprisingly, blew up, and we didn't understand a thing because they were there. We've been together for so long. The teachers even bought them snacks, and then they're all gone. But some people are fighting for it. It's just right. In fact, they're almost scared out of their wits. The radio is ringing again. Congratulations to those who survived. There are still 8 or 3 people left in the school. Please gather in the same class in the first 5 minutes or else you'll die. This was the first time that all the 6 classes in our grade came out, and we unanimously decided to go to the 3rd class. Even though all the 6 classes were assembled, there were still a few empty seats, and we didn't dare to hesitate because no one knew when the first 5 minutes would arrive. When the bell rang, we realized that the teacher had returned. We covered our mouths in amazement, not daring to believe what we were seeing. I saw him die with my own eyes. How? We dared not whisper to each other for fear that the rule would remain the same. The teacher did not say anything but just kept on staring at one of the classmates. That classmate became so uncomfortable with the look that he unconsciously dove under the desk. The teacher suddenly laughed. That classmate exploded. Listen carefully to the lecture. It's time to eat. I entered the cafeteria on time to eat, but what I saw in front of me was unforgettable. There was a piece of meat that looked like an arm in the rice. I've learned about anatomy. This shape is definitely an arm. This piece of human meat. It's because only human arms have a piece of special pepper. Worse than me, he ate an eyeball due to the rule that we have to eat all these things. Luckily, apart from that, it's just the normal meal. I slowly ate it and bit down on it and ate it with my eyes. I ate it slowly, biting down on the piece of meat and shrinking it back quickly. I thought it would take about 40 minutes to finish my lunch, which meant that if I wanted to live, I had to eat what was in front of me. There was no way to fight. Luckily, since my piece of meat was relatively small and could be swallowed in one bite, I almost didn't have to chew and ate it straight away. I was a bit worried about Jiao after all. No one could eat an eyeball, right? I didn't dare to ask Jiao for fear that he might be psychologically. Today is the teacher's birthday. Let's play a game in this class. We could only say yes in a stiff voice. The teacher said the name of this game is Touch the Blind. I think you should have played it before. Remember, you can't go out of the classroom. Oh, then the teacher took out a silk scarf and covered my eyes. The scarf was stained with blood and tied to my eyes. It was even more horrible to see. Although there was a lot of dust here, I couldn't care less about anything in order to survive. 10 seconds had passed and many people were hiding under the desks. Some even stood on the edge of the blackboards without a care in the world. The teacher began to touch people. He didn't cover his eyes like a common person and turned to a headless fly, but walked straight as if he hadn't covered his eyes at all. He walked straight to the side of a girl's desk and touched down on the girl trying to run. Too slow, teacher. The man who was standing on the edge of the blackboard fell down, and the teacher turned his head and ran over to the blackboard. The man ran and hit the teacher with his stool. The teacher said that he would have to report to his parents for insulting the teacher. The student panicked, fearing that the teacher was going to kill his parents. When he was confused, the teacher rushed over and grabbed the man by the corner of his shirt. The day was almost over and we were down to the last study period. The radio came on again, asking everyone to be in one of the classes. 58 people were left in the school. Luckily, this was a big class period and we had plenty of time to get ready. We all ran out to the playground, the seniors, and after a head count, we unanimously decided that we'd go to the first class on the first floor, which was just big enough for a classroom. Luckily, someone had brought a watch, so we decided to chat for a while. With 10 minutes to go, we decided to talk about our classes first. We were playing Touch the Shrimp, and some of us had to finish solitaire. But when we couldn't catch it, we died, and it was almost 5 minutes before we all went back to our seats. The teacher came and gave us a surprising assignment. Write down on a piece of paper the person you find most annoying and hand it in. The teacher will deal with each of you according to who has written the most. If you do not write your own name, you will die in 10 minutes. This is a test of humanity. None of us wants to kill and we don't want to die, so we can only write the names of the people we find repulsive. Suddenly, Jiao stood up beside me. The rules don't say we can't socialize, so can we socialize? The teacher smiled a little and said, yes, of course. We began our exchanges. Someone said, let's throw out the disobedient ones first, but one of them has to die eventually. Suddenly, Jiao thought of something and said, let's just write about those who are already dead. We all heard that this was a good idea and we all started writing in one after another. 10 minutes later, the teacher began to announce that we were all going to write about the dead. The disobedient person chosen. Suddenly, the teacher took out a gun and pointed it at a female student. A male student next to her. No, it's impossible. Can't someone choose someone other than a dead person? Class was over. It was good that today was a Sunday and I could go back home. I left school and rushed back home. I found no one at home. I turned on my cell phone and my dead roommate sent me a message. The next day I went to school at the urging of my parents. Originally, I really didn't want to go to a school in a prison class, but as soon as I walked through the door, I realized my former roommates and the class president were all in the same room. When the bell rang, the teachers were still very nice to us, but it wasn't like yesterday. After class, I said to my roommate, didn't you have any problems yesterday? She said, didn't the school say that all the students didn't have to go to school yesterday because of the big construction project? After hearing that, I took out my cell phone and checked my class group. The class teacher sent me a message at 7 a.m. yesterday morning. It was sent at 7 a.m. yesterday morning because it was late. Many students went home again at that time. If that's the case, Then what time was it yesterday? Shouldn't my mom and dad be surprised that I came home so late? Was what I experienced before a hallucination? I didn't dare to think about it. I thought I'd go down and ask Xiao Jiao. I saw that Xiao Jiao's seat was empty, but instead, there was a boy with heavy glasses. Isn't there a Xiao Jiao in my class? Where's he? Did you have a dream? Did you lose your head in a dream? There's just a few of us in my class. You can't even count them.